Thank you for joining us for this month's edition of About Business, your community show to find out about Arlington businesses, business leaders, and issues that affect our business community. On this month's show, we'll chat with Arlington resident Alicia Mendieta, National Sales Manager for WMC TV5. And she brought with her a friend, Tori Shirley, who is the Research Director at WMC. Stay tuned. Alicia and Tori, welcome to this issue of About Business. I'm glad to have you all here. So you should feel like you're in familiar surroundings in a television studio.
We are.
So this is a wonderful facility, and I thought it would be great. You all work in the broadcast business, and I thought it would be great to have you come in, see what Arlington High School offers their students, but also tell me a little bit about what path brought you to where you are. So Alicia, let's start with you, the Arlington resident, and tell me what it is that you do and what kind of path led you to that job.
So I work in the sales department at WMC. I am the national sales manager. So I started out there as an AE, but I just work with business owners that want to advertise, whether it be on television via commercials or through various digital properties that we have as well. Now, as far as getting into the industry, I kind of joke that my father was, or still is, but an engineer, and so I grew up running around master control, barefoot and all that kind of crazy stuff. But what I loved is I used to sell things as a kid, all the school projects I would sell to the salespeople, and I started to get interested in what that industry was, and so wanted to follow in my dad's footsteps in the industry, but just kind of put my twist on it by getting into the sales side.
Okay, and how long have you been at the station?
So I've been at the station for 5 years now, but previously I've worked at 2 other television stations before that. So.
Okay. And Tori, tell me about your background.
I started very differently than Elisa did. I actually started in high school. I went to a small high school in Northeast Arkansas, and we had a cable show, which I hosted.
Much like this one?
Much like this. Well, not much like this, because this is much nicer. It has come a long way since then.
Good.
And then I went to college and eventually majored in radio and television with the idea of working in production on the back end, and I did that for a long time. So I was a newscast director. I worked my way up through all the back end side, and then I decided to move over into analytics to get better hours, honestly. Not be on call in the middle of the severe weather, not be the one leaving at 2 a.m. to head to the station. Much like Elisa says she was the child running around, I actually took my child in with me in the middle of the night, because what else do you do, right? So then I moved into analytics, and just over 3 years ago I moved to the Memphis area.
So talk a minute about what you do.
Sure.
So for people that aren't real familiar.
Yeah, so analytics, it's all encompassing, and one interesting thing about it is I don't just work with the sales team, though I work a lot with them. I work with the entire station. So what I'm doing is helping us look into our audience, who it is, what their lifestyle is like, and then help our customers on the sales side find the best place to be to talk to who they need to talk to, right? Because when you're a business owner, a lot of times people go, oh, my target's the whole world, but it's not. You have a core customer. We're going to help identify that core customer and then find the best way for you to talk to
when
them.
their eyes are on
Absolutely.
On the station.
Yes, so that they can sell to those people.
Yes.
So, and how long have you been with the station?
Just over 3 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. All right. So we talk a lot about this on the show because this is really important to all the business leaders in Arlington, because the unemployment rate is so low. It's hard to find good people now because they move around. They have the ability to move around. Hard to keep good people. Talk to me about your teams and people you work with, and how you find good people and what skills you're looking for. because we hear a lot about transferable skills. So tell me what kinds of things you might look at, and we'll just bounce it back and forth here.
Okay. Well, both of us mainly working in the sales side. I'll probably speak a little bit more about that. So probably the thing I love the most about this job is it is working with people. You have to be a people person. So one of the biggest things we say getting into sales is we can teach you the industry, we can teach you the business, but you have to be personable. You have to be someone who loves people and is not scared to get out there and get in front of people. So we really look for outgoing people. Hard work ethic is really huge, because on the sales side, you're not your own boss. You have a boss, but you kind of work your own list, and you have to be self-motivated to get out on your own and build your own business. We want you to take ownership of your clients and your book of business and want to grow that.
And then as far as recruiting, I would say we are always recruiting. That's the thing. Everywhere we go, every interaction
Everyone we meet,
have, we are, would they be a good fit? Would that be a person that could come in? And fit with our team, that we see that leadership ability, because we're looking for innovators and leaders in our industry. And then that part actually does transfer across the building. So when we look at someone, so a couple years ago we hired a new news director. So we're looking at someone who will fit with this area, who, has the same vision that we have. So we're always identifying those things along the way. We're making contacts, even if now's not the right time. We all kind of have that list of these are people we should talk to down the road.
And people buy from people they like.
Yes.
And so especially I would think in sales, it's
Yes.
really important to
is.
have a pleasant personality. I remember in other jobs that I've held, when people would call on me, there was always those couple you're like, oh,
Yeah, they're not.
don't really want to deal with them. So, to have that good personality and to, like you said, work ethic, be a self-starter, and those are really important.
Yeah.
I always like to emphasize those things, because not only is our audience the people that watch the show, but our audience is the staff that's working
Absolutely.
the show.
Absolutely.
And I like them to know the things that it's important for them to build on. Okay, so let's talk about customer feedback now. Which is different in different jobs, but there's
Absolutely.
always customer feedback. So talk about that a minute. Tell me who your customer may be, whether it's internally or externally, and talk about that feedback and how you use it to refine your job.
So I will say I'm kind of in a twofold position. So I work with local business owners, but I also work with our buyers and agencies all around the country that are buying for bigger businesses in the market. So my customer kind of changes a little bit. But absolutely with, let's say, for example, my agencies, you do buy from someone that you like, but there's numbers and there's metrics behind that. So if they come back and they're unhappy about something, it's definitely, for me, it's something that I internally will try to take and make changes and do what I need to do with that, because I'm working directly with those agencies. On the local side, I think, to your point, as well as that they like who they buy from, we have a lot of accounts too that will change, throughout the station. So someone may say, hey, they just don't connect well with this particular AE. Sometimes it means an account change. Sometimes it means just us tweaking how we sell to those people.
And then since you kind of talked external, I'll talk a little internally. And doing, dealing with the analytics and working on that side. So a lot of times I am trying to identify the true need. So my feedback comes in different ways than from the external customers, though indirectly I do get the same thing, because they'll come back in, okay, they said this, so help me, help me understand what they said and help me understand a new path, right? But then internally, like for instance, with working with news, so I'll spend time and, well, what are you looking for? Where, what are you trying to grow? So let's see what I have that can help you.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of how we work across the board, I guess.
Really fascinating stuff. When we come back, we'll talk some more with Alicia and Tori and hear a little more about what they think are risks in their industry.
If you're happy and you know it, wiggle your ears. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. If you're happy and you know it, wiggle your ears. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, wiggle your ears. Wiggle, 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 wiggle.
That one always
Like
makes
that
me
one?
wiggle and giggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
We're visiting today with Alicia Bendadia and Tori Shirley. of WMC, and we're glad to have them on the set with us today at About Business. So I want to talk to you a little bit and ask you what the risk. There's risk in every business, every industry. You know, and we sometimes that's on a grand scale. You know, we all saw what happened to Blockbuster. You know, that would be the ultimate risk. But talk a minute about television, digital, and marketing, research, the things that you do, and tell me a little bit about the risk that you kind of see out there lurking in the waters.
So it's easy. We were talking about this on the way here, actually, which is kind of funny. So one of the big things that you hear out there is, you know, broadcast television is going away. Everything's going digital. It's all going streaming. And so it's something that we are very cognizant of, and it's something that we're doing a lot of on the research side. I'll let you talk a little bit about that. But you know, that we're addressing, and I think the biggest takeaway is it's not true. It's not going away. It is changing. The industry is changing, and that's probably the biggest risk factor. Is just it's I wouldn't call it volatile. It's just ever evolving quite a bit.
Right.
So so on the streaming side, for example, it's what came out, Disney Plus, right? Came out today. So happy Disney Plus Day, right? That's what we're saying. But the interest, so people are saying, well, they're shifting. They're getting away from watching your traditional broadcast television. And I know you can say that that's not true. The numbers that we see are just that's not the it's not really what's happening.
Right. It's not holistically happening. It's more, right? So we watch broadcast television. The same things that people have always been driven to broadcast television for, they're still driven
doing
for.
that, yeah.
But now they've added in these apps, and they've added in, you know, watching on their phone, just taking it with them. It's just everywhere. It's all consuming.
You know, at one time, there were the big three networks.
Correct.
And, you know, you could look at the ratings and everybody was watching one of them
were, yep.
because that was all there was to do. And the industry changed so much when cable exploded. And so all the numbers were different, you know, because you had to factor in that there were so many other options. And now that there's digital and the platforms and all the streaming and things, it's just another way to adapt.
Right.
And, you know, what they always say that, you know, you adapt or you die.
Exactly.
And so, you know, to have all those other options.
And it's definitely something, so as far as adapting, that's something that we, as a TV station, as an industry, we're measuring and adjusting as well. So you can find now WMC, you can find that streaming as well. Like we've put ourselves in those same places so people can still watch us. Because at the end of the day, the only place to get your local news is still going to be one of your local news channels. There are additional things out there to watch, but you're still going to come to us, you know, for breaking weather, breaking news, things of that nature.
That's exactly right, because this morning when all the kids got up,
Exactly.
and they were going to
My
school.
kids had been doing the snow dance yesterday, and it did not work. It did not work.
Bless their hearts, but at least
they were
had
trying.
some excitement about it.
And we still see that in the analytics. For instance, Friday there was a large story that impacted the University of Memphis that came out.
Yep.
And
where did people turn?
Right, it happened right around 5, and then you see the increase across the board in the local news programs that follow that because it happened here. So everyone still comes to TV for that.
Because the
Yes.
local station was going to cover it more in
Exactly.
depth than
Exactly.
anything, even on ESPN.
Yes.
Even though they
Correct.
were interested in it,
And hoping
there
to
was
have a
still-
behind-the-scenes story as well. You know,
Right,
those things.
that's right.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about that transition, but now look in your crystal ball, and you know, because you have to.
do, yes, you
Everybody's
do.
always, you know, looking at that. So tell me a little bit. What do you see in the future for television and broadcast and digital and a lot of exciting stuff? I would think
You do, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with that, bringing that digital world in. You know, historically, you know, back in the days, we would say when you were selling TV, you were selling just TV. I mean, that was what the product that you would bring to your advertisers. Now we've added an array of digital products. Again, we've put our product on streaming so you can see it there. So it's really just kind of keeping up with the evolving and the changes that are coming. And I know, you know, from a sales perspective, there is a time that I kind of sat back and you were going, whoa, what's going to happen with all these other products coming out? But really, to your point, we've adapted, we've added. Now we can bring those products to my clients. I can go to a client and say, look, I can be your one-stop shop. You can buy your local broadcast, you can buy all your digital products, you can buy everything on me, and apps, and allow us to help you grow your business that way. So it's really just kind of keeping up with the evolution and changing, and it's just adding products.
And then, you know, technology along the same
Yep.
lines of what she's
Yep.
saying, looking to see what's coming next, you know, utilizing technology for business efficiencies. For instance, cameras in our studio now aren't manned, right? So we've transitioned to that, to where everything is controlled by a computer, essentially. So finding the ways to work with the technology to enhance our business so that we can continue to move it forward.
My hats are off to those people who have had a long enough career that they've bridged a lot of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you can almost tell when televisions went to the unmanned cameras that there was there were anchors that had a little bit of trouble with
Yeah.
that, but they persevered.
They did.
Yes.
And they learned a new way to do their craft. And so, all right, so this is at heart a student-driven production. So if you had the ability to go back and tell your younger self something in preparation for your career, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh, okay.
I said, you
so
wanna do
for
that.
me, yes, that's, I mentioned that I worked at a program in high school, and I did come from a very small town. And so basically I was told at that time, that's not a career. That's not something you can work with. You need to go to college and get a real job and find something, find something else that's going to pay better and that you can live a life. And so what I would tell myself is that's not true. Find your passion and follow your passion, whether it is TV, which is that's what it was for me. And, turns out it is a real job. It's a real career, and you can move with it and you can grow with it. But just identify that passion and follow it, and then find a way to get into that industry. It is, as we're talking about, with the changes. My first job was running a studio camera. Well, that's not really a position anymore. You have to find a different way to get in. So learn about whatever industry it may be. Learn everything about it and find a way to get in to really get to know it, and then follow that path. Because that's what keeps you happy. Doing what you love is what's going to keep you happy.
Exactly. Loving what you do.
So what makes every day exciting?
I think for me, it's meeting people, and you and I met at a chamber luncheon, and you've introduced me to a ton of new business owners, and I love learning about businesses and learning what makes them grow and what makes them successful, and helping them be successful. I think that's the biggest thing for me, is I feel like I'm helping a business to grow and helping them be successful.
When I was growing up, my father was in the grocery business, and I thought everybody's family was in the grocery business. And so you learn about it, and you think, wow, that's a job.
It is.
It's really interesting what other businesses do and how people make their livings, and to kind of learn that there are some commonalities across job platforms. And so that's pretty exciting. So thanks for coming in today and talking with me and kind of opening the door on that a little bit, and we'll be right back.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Before we go, just a few dates for your calendar. Christmas on the Square is Saturday, November 23rd from 4 to 7 p.m. That's in the historic Depot Square area. The tree lighting will be at 5:15. Hope you'll join us. There's always a great crowd, lots of crafts and activities for the children, and carriage rides. The Arlington Christmas Parade is Saturday, December 7th. That's at 3 p.m. and Airline Road is the route for the Christmas Parade. These two events are sponsored by the Town of Arlington. More details are on the town website at townofarlington.org, closer to these events, and you can also watch for any weather announcements about them. I also want to tell you about a big event that's happening in Shelby County that the Chamber is participating in. Shelby County Bicentennial Celebration is on Sunday, November 24th at Shelby Farms Park from 1 to 5 p.m. It will end with a fireworks show at 5:15. And each municipality has been asked to host a tent showcasing their town as part of this 200th anniversary of Shelby County. It's a free event with free cake and free petting zoo and lots of activities for children. I hope you'll stop in and see us at the Arlington tent. That's all for this edition of About Business. Thanks for joining us.